Hello, I'm Glyn Douglas. It's 1 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time in the UK on Wednesday, the 1st of April, 2020. But this topic of conversation is not an attempt to fool anyone, but rather to try to help people to get a better understanding of the current global crisis that we're all experiencing. How we both think as well as how we act is extremely important to our overall health during these unprecedented times. And I'm joined today by two of my very close associates and friends, Dr. Elizabeth Hughes from Seattle. Elizabeth specializes in stress management, and also my other friend, wellness coach, Chris Dimitrovich from Ottawa, who's an expert in quantum health. So first of all, good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
And good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning, Glenn. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure, and I think that the thanks should really go out to you two guys. As I said, it's 1 o'clock GMT here, and so I'd just like to thank both of you for taking the time so early this morning to hold this meeting. I know it's probably around about 5 a.m. for you, Elizabeth, and 8 o'clock for Chris. So I really do appreciate both of you taking the time to do this. I know that you both have careers and you're both key workers. You're going to be doing a lot today to help people in general. Sadly for me, we've had to close down our clinic, so I'm at home. So I'm trying to keep a positive mind and keeping myself active and catching up on so many outstanding things. But so to get to the point today then, Elizabeth, if we could start with you, let's ask the simplest question of all. What is COVID-19, the coronavirus?
Oh, okay. Great question. I love that. So I want to talk about coronaviruses in general. Coronaviruses are not rare. They're not uncommon. They're a very common cause of what we call the common cold. There are a handful of viruses that do that. But the truth of the matter is, if you're listening to this talk, you've probably had a coronavirus infection at some point. And so the idea that this is totally out of the blue, something totally different, is completely untrue. What's different about this specific virus is that its protein structure on the outside. A virus is usually a protein structure or protein with some sugar stuck to it with RNA or DNA inside of it. That protein structure on the outside is different enough from the common cold viruses, the other coronaviruses, that people's immune systems aren't accustomed to it and aren't fighting it off naturally in the same way you would a normal cold. Now, colds can be bad. We've all had a bad cold at some point, but fundamentally, the coronavirus is just a common cold virus. What else do you want me to answer on that?
Well, I think if I can sort of retort first of all, and I'll ask Chris to say the same thing, is that the point you're making there, first of all, and again, let's go back to the fear factor in a second, is that, you know, people seem to thinking that, it's the winter, I'm going to get the flu. Well, it's not that the flu virus just happens to be around in winter, along with all other viruses. Viruses are there. I'm going to be asking Chris a question in a moment about what people can do to protect themselves about any virus. The problem that we have is that during the winter months, most people are staying indoors under artificial light, artificial eating. They're not taking the same sort of exercise. They don't get the same exposure to the sun. So in short, their immune system is weakened. And as we know that the majority of viruses, they're almost sitting in waiting. What they're saying is that, well, we're here and you potentially are an ideal host for us. But your circumstance at the moment is you're too healthy for me to expose myself. But the minute that your immune system is run down, and that could be stress related, which we're going to talk about as well, is that virus then becomes active. So over to you, Chris. I mean, one of the questions I was going to ask you, which you can probably build in with the same thing, is that I think people are now very adept at practicing personal hygiene. So I've never seen so many people wash their hands, which may lead to a problem in a year's time down the line when people are just like, every surface is clinical and everyone's just like thinking, wow, so there aren't any germs around here. But that's a question and a topic for another day. What else do you think that people can do to protect themselves against this or any other virus? So double question there, really, Chris. What's your thoughts on Elizabeth's comments, and what do you think people can do to protect themselves against this or any other virus?
I think you made a pretty good point there. So it has a lot to do with the seasons and nature and whatnot, and just the way our lifestyle changes as the seasons change. And the way I really see it is we don't really see a lot of cases of people suffering from flu during the summer months, and the sun plays a massive role in that. So if we think about summer versus winter, we're getting more UV light from the sun. And everybody knows that UV light on the skin is what makes vitamin D, and of course that's a major plays a major role in immune function. What people don't realize is that when you go out into the sun, when there's strong UV light, is you notice that your blood vessels will dilate, and the red and white blood cells will rise to the surface, and they're actually able to become energized by the UV light. So our blood cells are getting energy directly from the UV light as they rise to the surface, and that's really what gives us the energy for our immune system to fight off pathogens. UV light is also known as bactericidal. So alone, it can actually cleanse your blood in a sense and get rid of pathogens. So this is why we don't really see too many cases of any sort of virus or flu or even the common cold in the summer months. And of course, people who do live in the northern or southern hemispheres, they look forward to summertime. It's very easy to be outside in the sun. It's very boosting. So I think when the warm weather hits and everybody tends to go back outside, we see these, I would say that the pandemic is basically going to end itself, as nature brings us outdoors in the nice weather.
Okay, I mean, we did start part of this conversation saying that there are, let's, for want of a better word, conspiracy theories out there. I think that with the amount of, well, it is an unprecedented event. There are obviously so many people saying, well, was this created deliberately, et cetera, which we'll come on to. But I suppose just going back to that first question I put to Elizabeth then, Chris, do you feel exactly the same way that, the coronavirus has always been there? It probably always will be around. This is just a case of that, sort of it's been highlighted that this current pandemic is specifically related to one virus.
It's hard to say right now. I mean, knowing what I know about viruses and, the environment that we find ourselves in, and, if there's a lot of toxins that we're exposed to, it can provoke the immune system. And, viruses are something that live inside of us. They don't actually live, but they're inside of us naturally. So a lot of times when the body gets poisoned or is exposed to a lot of toxins, it activates the DNA or RNA of such viruses that are within us. That's kind of a defense mechanism. So a lot of the symptoms that we see from so-called viruses or infections is actually the immune system kind of at work, creating inflammatory cytokines and whatnot. So it definitely goes back to toxins in our environment. But again, our resilience is going to depend on what season we're in and how much sunlight we're getting. I don't know if that really answers your question.
Well, I'll just put this back to Elizabeth, Chris. I think that going back to the fear factor out there, Elizabeth, I really do understand and sympathize with so many people who are saying, well, I've looked on the internet, I've listened to the news, and all the information they're pretty much getting is that this is a unique virus. You know, this is the worst virus that's out there. This is spreading so quickly. So many people are being infected. So many people are dying of it. Now, we know that if we accurately look at statistics, that's not true anyway. There's more people already died between January and March from, or contracted and maybe died from influenza than they have from this virus. So I think that all we're trying to do today is to really sort of calm people down and say, look, you are still likely to get a cold, you may still get the flu, you may actually get the coronavirus. So it's just really, I'm hoping to be able to give people some peace of mind to say that, you know, if you actually contract that particular strain of that particular virus, then, you know, it's nothing that unique. Which brings me on, I suppose, to my next question, which is, you know, Chris can talk a little bit about what we can do to build our immune system in the event that we do contract any virus whatsoever. But I suppose that mainstream people are going to say, well, you know, Dr. Elizabeth, is there a cure? You know, or what should I do if I become infected? So you can maybe sort of answer that again as a double question, Elizabeth, which is, you know, is this really a genuine, unique pandemic? You know, is it really one specific virus? And we'll talk about conspiracies again in a moment. And really, what can I do if I get it?
Oh, okay. So is it one specific virus? What I have seen, just looking at, and it's limited information, really, but everything seems to point to one unique virus with a unique protein structure that we just don't have as much innate immunity to. But that's what I have seen so far. One thing to remember is, now, I haven't been able to really see records of actual causes of death, but it's important to remember that with things like influenza, the flu, people who die of that are usually dying of a secondary bacterial infection that they get along with it. While the immune system is weak, while lung tissue is damaged, it's very easy to get a second infection. And that may be a lot of what we're seeing right now. I'm not convinced, I'm not going to say yes or no, but I'm not 100% convinced that all of the deaths are entirely due to just the infection with this virus. There might be something else going on as well. Chris mentioned something about cytokines and the body's own inflammatory response. And that does play a role with this. When your body is trying so hard to fight against or reject or neutralize a virus, that inflammatory response itself starts to damage you. And for people who are the younger, healthier people, that's something that does happen. And here's the question on the cures. So right now, there is no cure for the coronavirus, but there is treatment for the bacterial infections that you might get. There are some treatments to help decrease the amount of your own immune overreaction. That's where there's been talk about hydroxychloroquine, which is a medication that's used for that. There are things we can do to support yourself if you're very critically ill. There are things like getting IV fluids, getting oxygen. I mean, what basically the body needs, which leads me to say, if you are infected, take it seriously for yourself, but give yourself what you need, you know, in terms of rest, in terms of good nutrition, in terms of staying hydrated. We live in a world that sort of penalizes actually caring for yourself when you're sick. You're supposed to push through. This is a great time to really allow your body to do what it can and what it does naturally. It's going to repair itself. It's doing it all the time, and it has the capacity to help you to recover from this infection.
Yeah, and I think that in fairness for today, we've said that we'll try to keep this video quite brief as an almost a starting point, to talk to people in detail about how they could live a healthier life in general. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, that isn't just what you eat, it's the way that you think. So for us to actually cover a topic today on how people should think, how they should de-stress, how they should get proper nutrition, opens up obviously a minefield. So I think that, you know, sort of maybe Chris could just do a sort of a brief 2 minutes on what people can do to really build their immune system. And then let's just have a little general conversation about, as we say, what other people are saying. So do you want to just really give us a quick minute or so, Chris, on what people can immediately do quite quickly to build up a strong immune system?
Yeah, so aside from just getting outside and getting plenty of sunlight, I guess the way that you kind of want to understand this is every cell in your body is kind of on a schedule or on a cycle, and that cycle really is actually driven by the natural light cycle. So it's very important that we spend a lot of time outdoors. I know we're supposed to be kind of quarantined. But that doesn't mean you can't, you know, open your windows or at least sit on your porch and just hang around your own home. You know, typically first thing in the morning, it's a great idea. As soon as the sun comes up, it's a great idea to get your eyes exposed to the sun. That kind of sets the rhythm for every cell in your body. We kind of have a master clock in the brain that senses the light and kind of tells the body what time of day it is. So that's really going to get your immune cells on the right cycle. So that they can function optimally. And believe it or not, that's actually how you optimize your sleep. You know, the more morning daylight exposure you get, the more you can build your melatonin levels, which get released at nighttime during sleep as long as it's dark. So just make sure you're getting plenty of natural light as early as you can in the morning. And then, of course, as the day goes on, I mean, spending as much time as you can outdoors, in the sun, building your vitamin D, you know, getting your immune cells energized. Make sure that you drink plenty of water. Now, also, you want to make sure that your water source is good as well. So, depending on where you live, just make sure that you have access to you know, spring water. That's probably your best bet. Any water that's natural, that comes from the earth. If you don't have great drinking water from your own tap, it's probably a good idea to see what you can find. But any sort of natural spring water is good, and you want to be drinking a lot of that. If you can do some grounding as well, that's great. Simply just putting your feet on the ground. It's a good time of year for that now. I know people are probably just starting to get their gardens ready. So just being connected and being around trees and nature is probably a really good thing. In the evening, just try to, I think just try to be mindful and try to relax, maybe shut off the social media, you know, and do some, maybe do some breath work, do some breathing, maybe practice some meditation. If you have a fireplace, maybe just relax by the fireplace and, you know, rather than, you know, turning all your lights on and be, you know, doing all this kind of research and stuff like that. So just kind of put your mind at ease. It's going to help you sleep better. You know, and in terms of your diet, you know, avoid processed foods, try to get plenty of protein and healthy fats. You know, I'm a big advocate for seafood, just because it's got some key nutrients in it that helps, you know, central nervous system function, brain function, and also you know, things like selenium and iodine, which help us naturally detox from heavy metals. You know, and having heavy metals in our body, which we're exposed to a lot in the modern world, is really going to tank our immune function, right? It's, you know, we're constantly trying to detox from that. So from a dietary perspective, fresh seafood is a great choice. So that's pretty much all I can think of really to help with this. But I think the mind is important too, and we need to make sure that we don't stress too much over it, and you know, try not to fear everything that you're hearing. You know, the media can kind of contribute to that. So just follow nature, and you know, I really think that this will be all over soon. So everybody should just kind of hang tight and you know, get lots of rest.
Yeah.
I just wanted
Thanks for
to.
that, Chris. And just, yeah, sorry, I was just about to say if I could bring you in on that, Elizabeth, because I want to quickly have a chat with you there, as Chris said, about the stress side of things and the way that we think. But just to quickly recap on what Chris has just said there, first of all, if that's okay then. So I know that some people probably don't fully understand what Chris was saying there. Is it worth me getting grounded? Yes, it is. Just, stand outside, barefooted, soak up as much sunlight as you possibly can. Just because there's clouds there doesn't mean the sunlight and the rays are not coming through. They are. I think, again, by hydrating, getting as much water as you possibly can. Food we've already covered there, Chris, which is try to get as much organic food with natural ingredients in there. Cut down as much processed food as you can. So three questions I've really got for you, Elizabeth, then related to this is, let's first of all state the obvious. People should be spending this time now, especially if they're not able to go to work and not spend too much time doing normal outside activities. Please, I would say to people, don't take this as an excuse just to stay at home and order a takeaway. Get yourself a crate of alcohol and beer, and just think, hey, look, I'm sick of being stuck indoors. I'm just going to get myself some takeaway food and some alcohol. That's not a clever thing to do. We've discussed there, obviously, the stresses that some people are going to be under genuine stress by being at home on a regular basis. Well, that's down to you to get, obviously, the right mental attitude to things that you would normally, I don't get time to do that. You've now got plenty of time to do that. And two other things I wanted you to really cover on as well. A lot of people are suggesting, is it useful for me to try and take an additional amount of vitamin C? Is that something that's going to help me with my immune in general to protect against this virus? And then when it comes on to conspiracies, Chris, let's have a quick chat about 5G. I think that 5G technology you mentioned earlier about outside toxins, I think that is a major talking point as well, which we'll cover on briefly. So, so over to you then, Elizabeth, our stress management expert, although I know Chris and I have had to pretty much manage a lot of our own stresses. You are the lady with the official title. Getting people to actually get the right frame of mind and the right approach and attitude to this is so important to their health, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I wanted to throw in one thing beforehand. Long before I met Chris, probably about 5 years ago, I reorganized my house and put my bedroom in a different room with the bed facing east so that I actually wake up with the sun. Not today, obviously, because it's dark, but it makes a huge difference. And this is something that I just did intuitively. So it is really, really true to get that light and get it jumpstarts you. So the little advertisement over with. So what can people do as far as mental attitude to help with stress? The way I look at stress, most of us think that something like, well, I'm stuck at home is stressful. My work is closed. I'm not making income is stressful. And I look at those as part of stress. They're stressful events. But the thing that really causes stress, and stress is just a fancy way of saying my fear response is on. My hormonal fight or flight response is on. Part of that is, and a big part is, the constant thought that my body is weak, my body is vulnerable, I can't be healthy, my immune system is weak, everyone in my family gets sick. And those sort of simmering ideas that we have inside of us that we almost carry around as something we don't notice anymore. Those are the real drivers of stress and the real thing that poisons your immune system. Probably, there's toxins out there, but the toxin of your own overproduction of fear hormones is a huge toxin, and that you have to detoxify by changing that set of beliefs. But you can do it in a fun, backwards way. I recommend that people do, as part of what I do, I recommend that people do things that they would do if they felt perfectly well. So rather than hunker down with the pizza and the case of beer or whatever it is, if you felt truly well, would you'd play, you'd laugh, you'd do something creative, you'd find time for those projects. Your nervous system judges the level of safety by what it sees right in front of it, right at that moment. And so creating an environment that says around you, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm laughing, I'm spending time talking with a friend, even if it is over Zoom or over the phone. Those are things that ground that safety, not to, take off that word, but ground that feeling of safety into you, that I really am okay. That shuts off your fight or flight response, turns on your body's self-healing system, so that you're way more ready for anything that life or illness will throw at you. There was another question there. Did I answer all of them, I think?
Yeah, I was just saying that a lot of people are actually posting online, top up with your vitamin C. Do you think vitamins? I mean, we know that vitamin D from the sunlight, and vitamin D can come from food as well.
Yes.
But is vitamin C something that people should be thinking about?
I do actually believe that vitamin C is useful. I like getting it through natural sources, though. So if you have a way to eat, and juice is not as good as the whole orange or whatever it is. So I would, if you're very interested in making sure that you have the best quality, the best nutrition of vitamins, think about eating whole foods that have a little more. Have a grapefruit, have an orange, that sort of thing, rather than trying to rely on juices or even the highest quality supplements. There's a loss. So I'm a yoga instructor as well. And in yogic and Ayurvedic, in the Ayurvedic teaching and the yogic philosophy, there's this concept of prana, or aliveness. And when things are processed, you lose some of that. So even if you have the best quality organic supplements that are made under the perfect sense, they're so far removed from the living organism that they've lost some of their potency. So go with the foods.
Okay, well, I would agree with both of those points. I think just to recap there, I mean, none of us are particular advocates of actually buying any form of supplementation. If a person is living a healthy lifestyle and eating good, clean, fresh, organic food, you're going to get most of the vitamins and minerals that you get from a normal, varied diet. Again, I think I was asking that question on behalf of the amount of people that we talk to who don't live that healthy lifestyle, that are probably a little bit panicky, saying, can I go and get something quickly to help me along there? And the second most important point, as you said before, going back to the way that we think and the way that we sort of address negative situations. It's not easy for someone who's feeling ill, particularly when they've been afraid that this might lead to pneumonia or even death, that they go, well, I'm going to be quite happy about this. Let's be realistic. I think all we're saying is, well, at least until you do get something that makes you feel ill, is that spend this time at home, see it as quality time, have a laugh, have a joke. Instead of doing something serious or studious, then, watch some stand-up comedy on TV, or just do something that makes you happy and makes you laugh. And at the same time, speak to people who you care about, not just because you're ringing to see how they are, because you love them and you want to actually, sort of spend some quality time with them. Just moving on then to one subject. So obviously we'll wrap up for today, so this video doesn't become too elongated then. Just quickly turning to what we've termed conspiracy theories then, Chris. I've already mentioned one thing, which I personally can't say anyone could call it a conspiracy theory, which is the erection of so many massive masts across the globe now regarding 5G technology. You know, I've heard so many theories that, you know, they were testing 5G technology in Wuhan, that obviously the laboratories there, they were obviously developing all sorts of viruses, spreading them out. Do you want to give us a quick update on the let's call it, well, I think you called it intel. Let's still keep it as a conspiracy theory, Chris, but what have you heard so far?
Well, definitely 5G is a big player, and the latest of what I heard, you know, I'll just keep it short because this, you know, this opens a whole new discussion. But all I'll say right now is that there's a massive lawsuit that's been filed against many corporations for the misuse of artificial intelligence, and this is actually coming from the CEO in the United States of the Artificial Intelligence Agency. So we're going to see some big players coming down. And this is really good news because it's not to say that 5G is going to get squashed, but I think we're finally going to start to see some major changes in how technology is brought forth and how proper testing for the safety will be considered. So this was actually, I just got this intel actually this morning before our call. So I wanted to share that with you. It's clear that there's been some misuse with 5G in terms of, you know, controlling people, some very scary stuff that I don't know if we want to get into in this video, but I just wanted to share that little bit of good news because it's definitely been a major contributing factor in terms of these pandemics and other health related issues. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I think, again, asking the question that a lot of people have been asking on a lot of comments that I've read across so many different reports is that, you know, do you think that this was a deliberate campaign by the Chinese government to really try to genuinely start this pandemic?
I don't think it was, I don't think the Chinese government were the key players in it. I think it actually came from the United States, but I think the Chinese got involved. You know, I think they were kind of the guinea pigs to, you know, test all this equipment because they had the 5G systems in place with, you know, the facial recognition and all kinds of other scary crowd control, you know, mechanisms in their 5G systems. So, you know, and of course the virus supposedly began in Wuhan after there was tens of thousands of new 5G antennas set up there. So there's definitely, it's definitely, to me, is not a coincidence. But I think that we're going to get the whole story. I definitely don't think that we're being told the truth right now. I think there was definitely some crazy things that went down in Wuhan. So there's some conspiracy theories that this virus might have been a cover up for something that went down. But I really do believe that things are going to take a turn for the best. Everything I think is going to come out into the open, and we're going to learn about the facts. But as of right now, all I know is there's good things that are going to come. So I don't think we have anything to worry about. And that's really all I'll say for now.
Okay, well, I'll leave my parting comment there as really sort of confirm what you said, Chris. The truth eventually always comes out, whatever it will be. So maybe we have to be a little bit more patient. Does anybody else want to add anything further on anything we've discussed so far?
No, I think we covered it well.
Yeah,
good.
I think I'm good.
Well, excellent. Well, I'll let you guys go back to your busy day, and I'm going to go and take my dog for a walk because in the UK we're allowed a little bit of exercise outdoors. So I'm going to take my dog down to the local wood. And just like to say thanks again, guys. We've obviously only just started on a subject which is clearly massive. We know we could talk for an hour or two just on viruses or on 5G or on how to build your immune system. But this is just the first of many videos, and I look forward to the next one. So thank you very much again for joining me today.
Bye, Glenn. Bye, Chris.
Thanks, Glenn. Bye.